If you live in a cold winter city like me, you've probably already encountered them. Black marshmallow-like jackets with fur-lined hoods and shoulders accented by an iconic patch. Canada Goose parkas. Canada Goose was born in the 1950s and originally sought to shelter workers and mountaineers from sub-zero environments. But it has recently transformed into a luxury brand worn everywhere from urban business districts to the red carpet of the Sundance Film Festival. That's probably because these jackets aren't easy on the wallet. The classic Canada Goose Expedition parka retails for $1,050, and their most expensive jacket costs $1,695. And now Canada Goose is exploding in popularity. The company's revenue has grown 77% in the last 3 years. So considering this sharp rise, I want to assess how ethical Canada Goose really is as a company, specifically in terms of animal welfare, as well as try to help potential consumers decide whether it's worth it to buy a Canada Goose jacket. The impact of Canada Goose can be broken down into two main animal ethics issues: goose down and coyote fur. The company's sourcing of down feathers and coyote fur has become a particular flashpoint for animal rights activists. And as the popularity of Canada Goose jackets have grown, so too has the backlash against it, which is primarily spearheaded by animal rights group PETA. Because there are so few third parties that act as watchdogs for outdoor gear companies, it's often hard to sort out truth from fiction when it comes to accurate information about how materials are sourced. So let's dive into how Canada Goose obtains each of these animal products and try to understand whether it's actually an ethical company as it claims. First, let's start with down feathers. Canada Goose stuffs the majority of their jackets with Hutterite goose down, which they claim is much better than synthetic down because it doesn't freeze at extremely low temperatures. But in order to understand why this is such a contentious process, we need to understand how feathers are harvested. In general, down is collected either through live plucking a goose or defeathering it after death. Canada Goose claims that they require all of their suppliers to certify that their down comes as a byproduct of the poultry industry and has not come from live plucked or force-fed birds for foie gras. They back this claim up with a self-created Canada Goose down transparency standard and use the third-party auditor International Down and Feather Testing Laboratory to conduct regular inspections on their supply chain. That being said, PETA has characterized these standards as mere posturing. Instead, they claim that animal cruelty still exists in Canada Goose's supply chain, pointing to a video captured by a PETA reporter at James Valley Colony Farms, a Canada Goose supplier, where goose farmers trampled over geese, pushed them into cramped cages, and piled them on top of each other so they couldn't breathe. Canada Goose has since claimed that James Valley Colony Farms is not one of their suppliers, despite the fact that the farm appears in a Canada Goose ad about the company's down transparency policies. Fur has also been a big stain on Canada Goose's ethical track record. Currently, Canada Goose lines the hood of its iconic expedition jacket with wild coyote fur. Once again, Canada Goose touts its transparency when it comes to the trappers it relies on for coyote fur, claiming that all of their trappers catch coyotes as sustainably and humanely as they can, emphasizing that the trappers they source from adhere strictly to local government trapping regulations. But in an interview with The Dodo, former CEO of animal rights group Born Free USA, Prashant Khaitan, says this doesn't mean much. The places where coyote trapping is most common in the United States, like Wyoming or Alaska, have few restrictions, allowing trappers to use the especially brutal steel leg hold traps, as well as not requiring trappers to check traps regularly. This can lead to wild coyotes lying alive in traps for days with snapped legs, unable to move and eat. But proponents of trapping have often pointed out that it's a necessity in the face of growing coyote populations that prey on livestock and sometimes even dogs. So for both goose down and coyote fur, Canada Goose's supply chain seems far from perfect. Regardless of your stance on Canada Goose's practices surrounding animals, The combination of a ridiculously high price tag and shaky ethical practices points towards leaving that brand new jacket on the shelf. When all is said and done, I don't think you should buy a new Canada Goose jacket. There are lots of other durable, warm jackets on the market. If you do really want to experience the warm hug of a Canada Goose jacket, I'd instead urge you to buy used. You'll not only save money, but you'll also divert clothing waste from the landfill and avoid putting money into Canada Goose's brand. If you've been trying to find a sustainable way to get a pair of jeans or even a used Canada Goose jacket, then I'd highly recommend checking out this video's sponsor, Buns. Buns is a community-based app that helps people trade for things like clothing, furniture, houseplants, and art. It not only allows you to find like-minded people in your area, but it also facilitates a rich trading market where you can swap that brand new sweater you've never worn for that pair of overalls that you've always wanted. That's right, you don't need money to join the thousands of users on Buns. You just need to trade. And if you download the app and it isn't active in your area, be a leader. Post a few items, invite some of your friends, and watch your community grow. So if you want to escape the need to always buy new, find an eco-minded marketplace, or just want to declutter without throwing your stuff in the trash, then check out the link in the description to download the Buns app for free. Hey everyone, Charlie here. This video was also made possible by all the people who support me on Patreon. If you want to join their awesome ranks and help this channel grow, head on over to Patreon where you can grab a resource guide or some secret video essays. Thanks so much for your support, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.